Welcome back to another edition of Fly Tying with Jim Misiura. Today I'm going to tie a bead head peacock pheasant tail nymph. The hook that I have in the vise is a 2 extra long nymph hook, and I have a 3mm tungsten bead on there, and that's gold. The thread I'm using is a black green, and this is from Hemingway's. I'm going to start that thread behind the bead and bring it back to the tail area. And we're going to stop that just about where it would hang at the barb. Now for our pheasant tail, I'm going to use, this is actually a hairline, this is dyed black, but you can see that nice green color in those tips on both sides there. So I'm going to take a couple from the longer side. Take about 6 of them. And I'm going to use this for the tail and the body. I want that tail to be anywhere between 1/2 and 3/4 the length of the body. Going to tie that in. Going to bring that pheasant tail back up. And tag that into the rear position. Now for my rib, I have extra fine green or olive, I would call this green more than olive, wire, and this was a dumpster dive from a motor, and my kid dove in the dumpster for that. We're just going to tie this rib in, try to keep it on the bottom there, and bring our thread up to the front. I'm going to take my pheasant tail. This is actually a nice dark green. I wouldn't really call it a black. I'm going to wrap that forward. I'm going to wrap that up further than it needs to be. And I'm going to tie that in. I unraveled there a little bit, but caught it. Go ahead and trim off the excess. I'm going to take that rib, I'm going to counter wrap that, being the opposite direction that I wound the pheasant tail. Bring that right up to that thorax area, and then the extra fine you could just break it right off like so. I'm going to bring my thread back, and I'm going to bring my thread back on those wraps a little bit. Top of the abdomen area. Now I'm going to take my pheasant tail once again. I'm taking the small section. I'm taking a section about 1/2 inch. Going to straighten those tips first. Get them all lined up. Hold on to them tight. And you can see the backs aren't lined up. And the tips are lined up. Bring your thread up to your bead. We're going to tie it in there first, leaving it past the front. This is going to be the legs. And then bring that thread back. You can see it's starting to split already. Now for the thorax, I'm going to use GSS, this is Peacock, Guardside Secret stuff. And you don't need a lot of this, which I happen to pull out quite a bit there. I'm going to just put some of that on the side. And dub that on. If you're having a hard time, put a little moisture on your fingers. I take that bit that I took off. Here's a good example. It's very stringy, and that actually gives you a little bit of a tougher time. Put a little bit of moisture on your fingers, and it tames it very easily. We're going to go ahead and wrap that. Go up, come back. We're going to go forward once again. Now I'm going to split the legs and pull them off to the side and then tie them down. I'm going to give a couple turns there. Get a couple going to the side there. I'm going to hold them to the side. I'm actually going to come back about a thread wrap or two just to get them to go towards the rear. And it's still pretty good on the bottom. I'm going to take our wing case, try to keep that flat. And we're going to tie that down, give it 2 or 3 wraps, pull it back and tug that down there, put a couple of wraps in front of it. We're going to remove the excess. Then we can take our whip finish. Don't worry about a little tuft of pheasant tail sticking up in the front. If you want to hide that, you can take a little bit more of the GSS and dub a slight bit onto the thread. See if I have any left on the table here. I do have a little bit. When it falls off, don't be afraid to pick it up back up off the table. You can see it's kind of unruly. Several long strands here. I'm going to go ahead and wind them back or dub them back on. Got a nice skinny noodle there. Going to wrap that and wrap down that clump. Take my whip finish once again. Should have did that before I whip finished, but doesn't matter. Tighten that up. Trim off that excess. Put a couple long GSS's there, that's why I'm using the scissors. And here we have a GSS Peacock pheasant tail nymph. Hope that you learned something from this video. Hope that you would subscribe to my channel. Please refer me to your friends. Leave comments, questions, suggestions. Please visit my sponsors. And most of all, thank you very much for watching my videos.